Hello, listeners, and welcome to episode 4 of Stuttering Through Life, the podcast that's all about stuttering. I'm your host, Kyung Lee, and we have our first return guest, Matthew. It's so nice to have you back on the podcast.
Hello. Listen, it is so great to be here again, frankly.
Yeah, we're so glad to have you. You told some great stories last time, and it was so fun talking with you.
Thanks.
So, our topic today will be speech therapy. So, speech therapy is done by speech language pathologists or speech therapists for short. They help people of all ages with communication or swallowing disorders or other things. Many speech therapists specialize in helping people who stutter. The benefits of meeting with a speech therapist is not to cure a stutter, because curing a stutter isn't possible, but to practice strategies to speak more fluently and encourage a more healthy outlook on a person's stutter. So Matthew, you've had some experience with this. How long did you take speech therapy?
So I'm going to go start this anecdote with a correction from last time. I talked to my mom about when I started stuttering. Even though I had like distinct memories of like stuttering back when I lived in New York, it only started when I moved out to California in like fourth-ish grade, which is just about when I started doing speech therapy. Now, I was in speech therapy pretty much from like fourth grade, going through like fifth-ish grade, and like towards and because like I would give a clear cutoff time, but it was kind of like a slow ramp off where it's like every week, and then it's like we'd miss sometimes. It was like bi-weekly, and then monthly, and then just kind of didn't do it from there. So just about maybe like a year of doing it for real, and then maybe like 6 or 8 months of kind of just like not really trying to do it, but going anyway.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense. For me, it was about the same time. I kind of bounced around from therapist to therapist for a few years actually, until my mom found a really great speech therapist, and I worked with her from the years of third grade to fourth grade, I think. And then I started tapering off with her a little bit, and at the same time, I also met with my elementary school speech pathologist just to see what it was like for a bit in fourth grade. So it was interesting. I got to meet a lot of people. I don't really remember all of them, to be honest, but it must have been interesting talking to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So what kind of things did you learn or work on in speech therapy?
So like the big thing that they do in the beginning is just kind of like teach you how stuttering in general works with like, like blocks and repeats. And I don't really remember the terminology anymore, frankly.
Yeah, me neither.
But like the different kinds of stuttering and like the different kinds of strategies that you employ to like stop it and then go back and try it again and then actually like say it without stuttering. That was the main thing that you learn, and then from there what you do is you just kind of they find games which they use just as an excuse to like get both of you talking.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk, like really slowly, and you enunciate everything, and anytime that like you stutter, you have to like consciously think about what to do, so that ideally as time goes on, you would start to think about it less, and then it would be more of just kind of like a instinct of, I know I'm stuttering like this is how I fix it,
Yeah, for sure. It was quite a long time ago for me too, so I don't remember like the exact wording of the strategies, but I remember similar to you, we worked on talking slow, because especially me, I talked really fast as a kid, and I still do.
Yeah.
It's like really yeah, and
it's the New York in me for sure.
Yeah, I guess I just like had a lot I wanted to say, but I don't know. And for the slower, more smooth speech, I remember there was something called phrasing, where I would read off like a sheet of paper with just like really simple sentences, and I would use my finger to point at each word that I read. So obviously your finger can't move that quickly, so it forced you to kind of slow down and just read at an even, consistent speed. So I think that helped and made me more like conscious of how fast I was talking.
I think I vaguely remember something like that.
Yeah,
but like we used like kids' books and not just like sentences.
Yeah, it was like pretty much the same thing. Oh yeah, we probably use books too. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember for my stuttering, I remember I would try to work on talking smoothly when I stuttered. So that was kind of like more fluent speech and slower fluent speech instead of stuttering as much as I would. So, oh, like for example, if I was stuttering on the word smooth instead of smooth, I think they would try to kind of elongate the consonants to make it more smooth, you know? And it would help. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it would help. And I still use that
Yeah.
to be more fluent.
Because the like good thing for me, like tying it back into theater again, is that
Yeah.
if there's one thing that like definitely did help with that, is that
Mhm.
if there's one thing that you will never hear a director like not say, like they're just in a constant state of like reminding everyone, at least in high school theater, enunciate more.
Yeah, for
um
sure.
and kind of already having that baseline of like, I need to enunciate, otherwise I literally cannot speak, you know. um it does, it honestly did help me with that more than I realized, I think.
Yeah, because I think, especially since I talked fast, like I mentioned, if I just kind of jumbled my words, I think it would make my brain more scrambled up, and I think that would make me stutter a little more, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and actually, I remember one time I was really surprised because I was working with my speech pathologist, and and I guess I said like a lot of th words wrong, like the sound, and
Hmm.
I was just saying it as a d sound. I guess I just like didn't know that when I was really young. So I'd say like even though.
Oh,
Mhm,
because I know that English is like your primary language now, but like,
mhm.
is English like your like first language, or like was it you like you were brought up speaking like Korean and then at a young age kind of started like learning English and then like transitioned?
Yeah, actually, technically, I guess my first language is Korean because
Yeah.
my parents spoke to me in Korean when I was really little. So I guess when I was like 1 or 2, I only spoke Korean. But then I went to like daycare when I was 2, and I learned English pretty fast. So yeah,
Yeah,
technically Korean is my first language, but
because like
English
that's
is
the thing where
definitely
it's
my.
like
Mhm.
the th sound is like so rare, like because like
Yeah,
linguistically I can only think of like English, and I think like Spanish, like Europe, like Spain Spanish,
yeah, yeah.
and
Oh, that's
those
right.
are like really the only ones that like come to mind that actually have like a dental fricative.
That's true.
Um,
I don't know what that is, but that sounds cool.
oh yeah, it's the th sound.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay,
just
got it.
yeah, because I just had like a honestly, I do feel like me going to speech therapy might have like played into it, but like eighth to ninth grade, I it's so weird. I like had a like linguistics phase. So,
Oh my gosh, really? That's so
yeah.
cool. I'm like in a linguistics phase right now, actually. That's so funny. We should talk about that more.
Yeah, the IPA. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that is the only reason why I like know
Mhm.
all of like the weird words for different sounds.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's such a coincidence. Yeah, and I remember in our last episode, in episode 2, I remember you talked about how speaking Spanish makes you stutter more. And I actually thought back on it and I was like, oh, when I speak Korean, I actually do stutter more. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, because like that, I don't know whether it's like a confidence thing, because like
Oh,
stuttering,
true.
I feel like it's like one of those things where like there's so many factors that like play into it, you can't really easily pin it down, and that's why I haven't been able to pin it down for myself.
Hmm.
Um, but like maybe, maybe I'll figure it out one day. Who knows?
Yeah, yeah, probably. Anyway, oh, going back to like the th sound, um,
Yeah.
the reason I brought it up was I had been working on stuttering with my speech pathologist for so long. I was actually kind of surprised when we would just work on pronunciation, and so I would have like a lot of worksheets with like a million th words, and I would read all of them, and I caught on pretty fast. But it was interesting because my speech pathologist helped me with those kinds of things too. So that was pretty
Hmm.
nice.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that I wanted to ask you
Yeah.
is my speech therapist said that like it was like a standard that like they always did
Hmm.
for like almost every kid that stuttered, like for like one of the games, like just like get them talking.
Yeah.
Um, did did they ever make you play like Go Fish, but like you have to talk like really slowly and like extra enunciated?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually. Hmm.
Because Go Fish is already like a fairly slow moving game, and then when you have to
Yeah.
just, do you have a two?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
And
go
oh.
fish.
And you know I think it's called Guess Who, or that game where you
Yes,
flip it open.
absolutely.
So that has a lot of
Yeah.
talking, and
I had totally forgotten about that, but
yeah.
absolutely that was one of the big ones.
I love that so much. I was like, does your character have brown hair? And we go back and forth. I played so much. It was like,
Slower.
yeah. I think it's like, I think at first my pathologist, what's the word, like, emphasize talking slower because it makes you like hear yourself more. But I think soon it wasn't like all about talking slow. It's more about maybe talking like evenly and consistently, and things
Yeah.
like that. Mm-hmm.
Because it's hard to sound natural when you're talking
Yeah,
slow, and
yeah,
like
exactly.
at
And
the end of the day, like I mean, what's the point if you're not stuttering, but like you sound like you don't really have a full grasp of English, you know?
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's like it's not that realistic to go out and talk like as slow as you can. So,
Yeah.
and honestly, for stuttering, I know just from what I've seen or heard, a lot of parents that don't really know what stuttering is or haven't really been educated on stuttering yet, when their child stutters, I know a lot of things they say is, oh, just slow down, just slow down. And they think it's like, oh, he's talking too fast, he's stuttering kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I know, but sometimes it like doesn't help that much, the child gets frustrated. So yeah, and those are the kinds of things a speech therapist can help with, because I know they help the parents a lot as well if they're not like if they don't really know what a stutter is. So that's
Mhm.
pretty cool too.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
like to like the talking slow thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm only saying this because I watch a YouTube channel that like they're like a bass player, and they like make videos on like jazz and music theory. Adam Neely.
Oh my
Um
gosh, I love Adam Neely.
yeah. Um when he was giving advice on like how to
Mm.
play like really fast bass licks
Yeah, yeah.
and like solos,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get better by going faster. You get better by like playing it in like halftime first, and like
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
managing
sure.
everything, and like getting all of the movements perfected, and then you start speeding it up. So I guess that's like, if you go slow, you can pay more attention to the little details.
Yeah, theoretically, but like it's not always how it works. So
Yeah.
it's different. Mm-hmm. And also for speech therapy, I feel like um working on these kinds of fluency techniques and learning how to speak smoothly or slowly, those definitely help, I think, with the day-to-day, just reducing the quantity of how much someone stutters. But I think going to speech therapy definitely, like a really huge takeaway I got from my experience in speech therapy was kind of like engraving in my mind that stuttering is okay, because like my speech therapist told me that all the time, like it's okay to stutter.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I think that's the most important thing,
I think so too. Hmm.
because even though like yeah, like it is absolutely true that like there are a ton of factors, I do feel like anxiety and confidence is definitely one of those are like two of the biggest ones. And just like kind of like being conscious that like, hey, like it's fine, like I mean sure, it's not like normal, but it's not like bad,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no.
Like it's fine, it's just not
Mhm.
common, right?
Yeah.
um like that's the most important thing, because when you're in speech therapy and you're trying to fix it, like the
Hmm.
implicit, well, okay, well that's not the phrasing, because I was going to say implicit implication, but that's redundant. um but like the implication is, if you're trying to get rid of it, then it's bad, right?
Yeah,
um
yeah.
and
That
then like
there's something
reinforcing
wrong with you.
like yes, we're like trying to get rid of it, but like it's okay, like there's nothing wrong with it, it's just better to not have it.
Hmm. And actually, I don't really think like a speech pathologist that knows what they're doing, I feel like they wouldn't try to get rid of it because that's like really hard, and you shouldn't like
Yeah.
give false hope to like the student that, oh, your stutter's gonna go away after like I talk to you. I think I think just
Well, that
like
probably wasn't best phrasing, but yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, like that's like definitely something not to say.
Yeah, then you have not get rid of it, but like manage it, I guess would be how I'd say it.
Yeah, just to like yeah, just manage it a little better. And I think either like before I went to speech therapy and even during, whenever I stuttered in front of someone, it'd be like really embarrassing, and then I'd get like scared of talking after I had like a really bad one. But being
Yeah.
scared of talking is like a really hard way to live, because like that's the main way we communicate with people. at
And like
least before.
humans are very social creatures, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure, for sure. And so obviously it's like kind of hard to say like, oh, just don't be scared, but still I think um I had like a lot of more peace of mind when I realized like it's like okay to stutter. And it took me a long time to do this actually. Over the years when I didn't go to speech therapy, so like from fourth grade to now, I think I kind of forgot these things that these like great little knowledge bits that my speech therapist told me, but I actually reconnected with my old speech therapist recently over this podcast, and we talked a lot about like what my stutter means to me now and how I deal with it now. And I think I had like a huge mental shift because she told me how she like re-emphasized that it's totally okay to stutter and everyone talks differently and this is just how we talk like as people who stutter. This is just another difference of how we talk, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought about it, and then I would think about how I'd be scared of like reading out loud in class, and how it'd be like really embarrassing if I stuttered, and people would look at me. But it like there's nothing wrong with it, and it doesn't inconvenience like the person or the group you're talking to, and like there's nothing wrong with me either. So I think I was really glad I talked to my speech therapist about that recently, and I think she's been a really big help, just like self-esteem wise, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like most people our age struggle with some kind of like self-esteem thing, and
For sure, it's
having
so common.
yeah, and then just having like some kind of thing that like singles you out from everyone. It's like, hey, you are like objectively not as good at doing one core thing that everyone needs to do. It's like
Yeah.
doesn't feel good, you know? So like
Yeah, no.
yeah, so just having that reassurance that like I mean, you can work on it, but like it's like nothing to be ashamed of. Like
Yeah,
that's
definitely not.
yeah, it's great.
And it's crazy because there's this thing like nowadays over the internet, you can like if you like something or you're interested in something, you can connect with people over that, like all over the world, and you can like find people that like the same thing as you. So I think it's similar for this. Just a lot of people in the world stutter and they've probably had the same experiences as you. And I think it's great to just like talk about your experiences and like the same things that you've gone through, like we're doing right now, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's nice to think about.
Yeah, and one thing that I want to add that like we're on the whole like self-esteem thing is
Yeah.
that if speech therapy doesn't work for you because everyone stutters differently,
Yeah, for sure.
note that that doesn't mean anything because speech therapy for me it didn't personally help much, but I'm really glad that I went because if there's one thing that this pandemic has like really reassured me of, I'm
Mm-hmm.
much better at things when I self-teach.
Oh, really
Um,
interesting.
yeah,
Like
so like
school.
yeah, so like just being given like the framework with which to analyze how I stutter,
Mm-hmm.
being able to like over the years just kind of like piece it together what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's helped more than anything else. But if I wasn't given that framework, I mean, obviously I
Yeah,
stutter, right? But like I would be nowhere near as I guess not as managed as it is right now.
I see. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, and even if the first therapist you go to, like, you don't really click with, like me, I went through a lot of, like, actually, I don't know, like maybe three therapists we found before I found one that I really liked. I think if speech therapists are available in your area and you have the means to meet with them and talk with them, I think it's okay to go to more than one, you know? If if like you said, you find that like the one-on-one thing or like the group thing doesn't really work for you, there's like so many online resources about stuttering. There's the National Stuttering Association, the NSA, I think, and then there's also Friends, it's called, and um, and there's also like a couple podcasts like mine about stuttering. So there's a lot of resources. It's pretty great. A lot of
Yeah,
people
and mhm,
find community in this, I
yeah,
think.
and because all you're doing with your speech therapist really is just talking. I mean, it's like structured talking and talking in certain manners, but like what matters most is that like they're all trained, they're all competent.
Yeah, for
The thing
sure.
that like matters most is just who you get along with the best,
Yeah.
because you're gonna get the most work done when you're actually enjoying yourself,
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
or at the very least you don't feel like scared, you know.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good feeling to be scared with their therapist.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because honesty, I mean, like that's like the biggest thing, because because obviously like when you're in that room, you're like thinking about your like stutter and like what you can do to manage it. But
Yeah.
once you leave that room, that's the real test,
Yeah, you're just back
and like
to the world.
being able to go in and say, hey, this didn't work, and like feeling like it's something that you can say and not like it's like you're insulting them, because
Yeah, yeah.
like some kind of like personal connection there. um that's definitely one of the bigger things, and that all stems from just like getting along with them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's really big. Yeah, and this is just like our personal experiences from like two teens, that like went to stuttering or that went to speech therapy. Yeah, speech therapists are like super qualified. They're really professional, and if you want professional advice, you should definitely reach out to them. And I know since our experience with speech therapy is when we were young, we talk about like playing games and stuff. But even for adults, a lot of speech therapists I'm sure they have their own way of helping adults who stutter. So it's definitely not like just for a kids thing. I don't
Yeah.
know if they play games with adults, but maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows.
And
Maybe we can get a speech therapist at some point. That'd be cool.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely on the list. And yeah, you definitely should feel comfortable with your speech therapist. That's definitely a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think we went through some great topics. I really enjoyed talking about this with you, and I think it was really fun. All right. Thank you for being on the podcast, Matthew. It's always so great talking to you.
Anytime.
All right. This was our episode about speech therapy with my friend Matthew, and thank you for listening to episode 4, and stay tuned for episode 5. Thank you.